All right, so I'm gonna make this to kind of explain a few things. So, all right, so I get asked a lot, why do you wear long sleeves in the summertime? Or like, why do women wear skirts? You know, like all the time. Well, I'll just tell you from my personal experience. This is why I started doing that, and then why I had my wife start doing that. So I struggled with lust for a long time. I mean, my entire life. And when one day the Lord opened my eyes on something, and when I stopped feeding into that lustful spirit, because that's what it was a spirit, right? So basically, I walked around and I noticed that I wasn't trying to look at somebody or look at people with lust, because Jesus says if you look at a woman with lust, you've already committed adultery in your heart. And I'm like, whoa, that's a big deal. I'm not trying to do all that. Well, anyway, so long story short, when I stopped feeding into that, I noticed that while I'm looking around, there's all these people out there and they're not dressed, they're not covering themselves completely, they're not dressed modest. And I mean, that's nothing against them. But I noticed for me, I noticed that I would look at them, and when I wasn't trying to, So then the thought hit me. It's like, all right, well, if I'm doing this and not trying to, who's looking at me? When I'm dressing like that, is somebody looking at me and maybe they don't want to see that? I don't want to cause anybody to sin. I don't want that, And so that's when I started wearing long sleeves all the time. But anyway, and the same with my wife, I love her. I love her so much, and I don't want anybody to lust over her because she's my wife, So anyway, I asked her if she would start wearing skirts and wearing a dress, because that covers your body. I mean, and it's not to take away from her. It's not to hide her away. It's I don't want her dressing inappropriately causing somebody else to maybe sin. If that makes any sense. So that's why I did that. Now, am I saying that if you dress like that, you're going to hell? No. You haven't. That's between you and God. If the Lord reveals that you need to dress modestly, that's up to you. I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm not your judge. But that's why I do that. That's why I'm always in pants, and that's why most of the time you'll see me in a long sleeve shirt. That's why. Now, is it going to be like that all the time? No. Sometimes when I'm at home, I'm a little more comfortable because that's my immediate family, or I'm going to bed. Maybe I'm not wearing that to bed. Or if you show up unannounced, you might catch me like that, but outside of my home, I'm going to do my absolute best to not reveal myself, if that makes any sense. So just clarifying that a little bit. So in case you were wondering. Now, we call it holiness. That's what it's, to my understanding, that's what it's called. But that's just, and it's not, it's just because I love the Lord enough that I don't want anybody to look at me and sin. That's why I do it. Now, I can't speak for everybody else, but anyway. So there's a little food for thought. Just figured I'd throw that out there, Well, Lord bless y'all. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the light. All right. Until next time, everybody.